The wedding venue smelled like expensive white roses and crisp champagne. Crystal chandeliers hung from the towering ceiling of the five-star hotel banquet hall, casting soft, dazzling light on the white silk tablecloths, custom-made wedding desserts, and neatly arranged guest seats. After 6 months of careful preparation, my dream wedding was finally one day away. Every detail of this wedding was personally checked and arranged by me, from the floral arrangement color scheme to the guest seating chart, from the wedding dress customization to the ceremony process. I had spent countless nights polishing every link, looking forward to standing hand in hand with my fiancé, Nathan Carter, exchanging vows in front of relatives and friends, and starting a brand new life. For the past 2 years of our relationship, I had always believed that Nathan was the most suitable partner for me. He was gentle, considerate, decent in speech and behavior, with a good family background and a stable, high-paying job. In the eyes of all relatives and friends, we were a perfect match, a model couple with a stable relationship and a bright future. I had long let go of the shadows of my teenage years, buried those painful and humiliating memories deep in my heart, and chose to look forward. I thought I had completely walked out of the haze of campus bullying until Nathan's casual words completely tore open the scar I had hidden for many years and pushed me back to the desperate and helpless dark days overnight. It was the afternoon before the wedding. I was sitting in the rest lounge of the wedding venue, sorting out the final wedding process list, confirming the arrival time of the makeup artist and photographer, and checking the guest gift list one last time. The whole room was quiet and peaceful, filled with a sweet atmosphere of upcoming marriage. Nathan pushed open the door of the lounge and walked in slowly. He was wearing a neat casual suit with a relaxed smile on his face, looking relaxed and comfortable, completely unaware of the huge storm he was about to trigger. He sat down beside me, took the process list from my hand casually, flipped through it a few times, and then said in a casual, indifferent tone, as if he was talking about an insignificant trivial matter, "Honey, I added one more bridesmaid for you. I invited Tina Wilson to be your wedding bridesmaid." The moment the name Tina Wilson fell on my ears, all the warmth and sweetness in the lounge vanished in an instant. A bone-chilling cold swept through my whole body in a second, making my fingertips turn icy cold and my blood almost stagnate. My holding pen stopped abruptly on the paper, and the tip of the pen left a deep black ink mark on the delicate wedding process list, just like the indelible scars left in my heart by that girl and that dark period of youth. Tina Wilson. This was a name I had tried my best to forget for 7 full years, a nightmare that had accompanied my entire high school career, the core culprit who had brought me endless pain, humiliation, and trauma in my teenage years. She was the leader of the campus bullying gang back then, arrogant, cruel, and extreme, who took pleasure in trampling on others' dignity and torturing weak classmates. Countless dusty and painful memories flooded back to my mind overwhelmingly in an instant. I remembered the crowded high school corridor. She blocked me with a group of followers, mocking my plain dress and introverted personality in front of the whole grade. I remembered the cold winter evening. She locked me alone in the dark classroom after school, leaving me shivering in the cold for 3 hours. I remembered the most painful and unforgettable scene. She held a burning cigarette in her hand, pressed the hot cigarette but firmly on my bare wrist again and again, watching me tremble in pain and tears, but she laughed wantonly and recklessly, saying that she wanted to leave an eternal mark on me to remind me forever of my humble status. 7 years had passed. The physical wounds on my skin had scabbed and faded, but the psychological trauma and shadow left by the campus bullying had never disappeared. Even after so many years, whenever I saw cigarette butts or heard Tina's name, my body would still have an instinctive stress reaction, my heart would tighten sharply, and I would fall into uncontrollable fear and nausea. I had never told anyone about these past sufferings, not even Nathan. I thought I could completely seal the past and live a new life peacefully, but I never expected that my fiancé, the person I was about to marry and spend my life with, would personally invite my worst nightmare to my wedding and arrange for her to stand beside me as my bridesmaid, watching my most sacred and happiest moment. My body stiffened completely. I slowly raised my right wrist, gently stroked the faint but dense small scar marks on the skin with my fingertips. Those tiny, uneven scar lines were all left by Tina's cigarette burns back then. They were not obvious on the surface, but every touch could awaken the deep-seated pain hidden in my flesh and blood, reminding me of the humiliation and pain I had endured in my youth. My voice was slightly hoarse, suppressed the rolling shock and anger in my heart, and asked him word by word, "Why would you invite Tina? Do you know who she is to me?" Nathan saw my strange reaction, but he didn't have the slightest sense of guilt or doubt. Instead, he frowned slightly, with a trace of impatience and disapproval on his face, as if I was making a fuss out of nothing and being unreasonable. He reached out and held my shoulder. His tone was perfunctory and arrogant, full of incomprehensible condescension. "I know she had some conflicts with you in high school. It's all old trivial stuff from 7 years ago. People grow up and change. Tina has known her mistakes now. She has matured a lot in these years, and she has always felt guilty about what happened back then." He paused, looked straight at me, and said the most chilling sentence I had ever heard in my life, in a tone that he thought was generous and reasonable. Let her be your bridesmaid. Just treat it as her way of making amends to you. It's a good thing to resolve old grievances and let the past go. Don't be so narrow-minded and hold onto trivial childhood grudges forever. Tomorrow is our wedding day. We need more blessings and reconciliation. Make amends, reconciliation, let the past go. Every word he said was like a sharp ice blade, piercing straight into my most vulnerable and scarred heart, tearing open the healed wound again, and letting the old pain bleed wantonly. He didn't understand, nor did he want to understand, what those so-called trivial childhood grudges had brought me. He didn't know that those so-called trivial conflicts were brutal and cruel campus bullying that almost ruined my youth and left me with lifelong psychological trauma. He only saw Tina's pretended gentleness and repentance in front of him, only thought that I was stubborn and narrow-minded for refusing to let go, and arbitrarily decided to let my lifelong nightmare stand beside me at my wedding to witness my happiness. He didn't care about my pain, didn't care about my scars, didn't care about my psychological shadow. In his eyes, my long-buried trauma was just a petty grudge that affected his perfect wedding and perfect interpersonal circle. At that moment, all the longing and beauty I had for this wedding, for this marriage, and for Nathan completely collapsed and vanished. The man I had loved for 2 years, trusted wholeheartedly, and was willing to spend my life with, was essentially a selfish, arrogant, and indifferent person. He was used to being decent and perfect in front of others, so he insisted on reconciling for the sake of his face, forcing me to forgive the person who had hurt me deeply, ignoring all my pain and bottom line. I lowered my head again, staring at the dense cigarette-burn scars on my wrist. The faint scar lines were burning hot at this moment, as if those burning pains 7 years ago were reappearing on my body. For a long time, I didn't speak. The lounge fell into a dead silence. Nathan thought I was shaken, thought I would compromise and agree to his arrangement for the sake of the wedding, and even showed a satisfied and relieved smile on his face, waiting for my nod of agreement. After a full minute of silence, I slowly raised my head. All the tenderness, docility, and longing in my eyes completely disappeared, replaced by a cold, calm, and decisive calm without any emotional fluctuation. There was no anger, no grievance, no tears, only the thorough coldness after completely letting go and the firm determination of upcoming revenge. I nodded gently, my voice flat and waveless, without any trembling. Okay, let her be my bridesmaid. Nathan was completely relieved when he heard my answer. He hugged me happily, patted my back gently, and praised me in a condescending tone. That's my good girl. Being tolerant and generous is the best way to end the past. Tomorrow's wedding will be perfect. He was immersed in his perfect wedding fantasy and decent interpersonal harmony, completely unaware that the moment I nodded and agreed, his perfect wedding, his perfect image, and his perfect life had already been completely sentenced to death by me. He thought I was compromising for love and the wedding, but he didn't know that I was quietly opening the prelude to a thorough and devastating revenge plan. Third-party objective commentary. As a bystander who witnesses the whole plot, I have to say that this is the most chilling turning point of the story. Nathan's character flaws are completely exposed in this incident. He is a typical egoistic perfectionist who only cares about his own face, reputation, and perfect life track. He has no real empathy and respect for his partner's pain and trauma. He arbitrarily defines the brutal campus bullying as a trivial childish grudge, forces his injured fiancée to forgive the bully for his so-called reconciliation and decency, and tramples on the heroine's bottom line and trauma wantonly under the guise of love and tolerance. What's more ridiculous is that he is extremely arrogant and self-righteous, mistakenly taking the heroine's long-term gentleness and accommodation as weakness and compromise, and naively thinking that he can control everything. In contrast, the heroine's calmness at this moment is extremely terrifying. She does not have hysterical quarrels and emotional breakdowns. She chooses to pretend to compromise and hide her edge, which also means that the subsequent counterattack will be more thorough, fatal, and irresistible. Nathan left the lounge happily after confirming that I agreed to Tina's bridesmaid arrangement, going to socialize with the wedding hotel staff, and confirm the final reception process. After he left, the smile on my face completely disappeared in an instant. I sat quietly on the sofa in the empty lounge, staring at the wedding dress hanging beside me, the custom-made ivory white wedding dress that I'd spent 3 months selecting and customizing, which was once full of my longing for marriage and happiness. But now, it was extremely ironic and dazzling in my eyes. I gently stroked the scar on my wrist again, and every touch reminded me of the pain and humiliation I had endured. I had never taken the initiative to hurt others, never taken pleasure in bullying the weak, but I had endured endless malice for no reason in my youth. After growing up, I chose to be kind and tolerant, chose to let go of the past, but I never meant that I would accept others' wanton trampling and force forgiveness. Kindness has a bottom line, and tolerance has a limit. Nathan's selfishness and Tina's unrepentant provocation completely touched my untouchable taboo. Since they want a perfect wedding, want a so-called reconciliation and decency, then I will completely destroy their perfect illusion in front of all relatives and friends and let them bear the most painful and embarrassing consequences for their arrogance and malice. I took out my mobile phone, opened the contact list, and began to operate calmly and efficiently. Since Nathan invited my lifelong bully to be my bridesmaid to humiliate me, I would invite all his most hated rivals, all the people he had offended, looked down on, and suppressed in his workplace and social circles over the years, to be his groomsmen. He wanted to hold a perfect, decent, and harmonious wedding, so I would turn his wedding into the most chaotic, embarrassing, and destructive public trial scene, completely destroying his perfect reputation and decent image that he cared about most. I knew all of Nathan's social relationships and workplace conflicts clearly. In the past 2 years of relationship, I had always carefully remembered all the people he had conflicts with, all the rivals he had suppressed, and all the people who hated him deeply. Nathan was a person who was superficially gentle and decent, but inwardly arrogant, utilitarian, and ruthless. In order to climb up in the workplace and gain social resources, he had repeatedly suppressed his colleagues, snatched his peers' opportunities, betrayed his partner's interests, and offended a large number of people in his social and workplace circles. He always thought he was scheming and sophisticated and had cleaned up all the troubles perfectly, but he never knew that all his ugly behaviors and hidden conflicts were clearly remembered by me. The first person I contacted was Blake Henderson, Nathan's university classmate and biggest workplace rival. Back in college, Nathan secretly stole Blake's graduation project, relied on Blake's core design results to win the National Excellent Graduate Award and the top enterprise internship quota, completely ruining Blake's university development opportunities. After graduation, Nathan repeatedly suppressed Blake in the workplace, snatched his project resources and promotion opportunities many times, and made Blake's career development stagnate for many years. Blake had hated Nathan for many years, but had never found a suitable opportunity to retaliate. I sent Blake a polite and sincere invitation message, attached the official wedding groomsman invitation letter, and briefly reminded him of all the unfair treatment he had suffered from Nathan over the years. Without any hesitation, Blake agreed immediately and said he would arrive at the wedding venue early with full attendance. Next, I contacted Leo Scott, Nathan's former cooperative partner. Nathan had once privately embezzled the cooperative project funds, pushed all the project failure responsibilities to Leo, made Leo bear huge economic losses and industry reputation damage, and forced Leo to quit the original industry. Leo had been depressed for a long time because of this incident, and had always held a grudge against Nathan's betrayal and frame-up. Then there was Chris Barnes, a senior colleague who was suppressed by Nathan. Nathan framed Chris for workplace dereliction of duty by means of undercover reporting, snatched Chris's core customer resources and annual promotion quota, and made Chris lose his annual bonus and promotion qualification for 3 consecutive years. In addition, there were 7 other people who had been betrayed, suppressed, and wronged by Nathan in different stages of life, including high school classmates, university teammates, and workplace seniors. In just 2 hours, I successfully invited 11 of Nathan's deadliest rivals and most hated enemies to be his official wedding groomsmen. These 11 people all had deep and irreconcilable conflicts with Nathan. They had been waiting for an opportunity to expose Nathan's true face and retaliate against his betrayal and suppression. And Nathan's carefully prepared, perfect wedding became the best public occasion for all of them to explode all conflicts completely. After confirming all the groomsmen's attendance, I did not stop there. I began to make more comprehensive and detailed revenge arrangements to ensure that the wedding counterattack was layered, progressive, and thoroughly explosive, leaving Nathan and Tina no room to turn over. First of all, I sorted out all the evidence of Tina's campus bullying back then. I found the preserved chat records of the victims in the high school class group, the witness statements of classmates who had seen the bullying scene, the medical records of my skin burns and psychological counseling records after the incident, and the screenshots of Tina's arrogant and insulting remarks back then. These complete and conclusive evidence can completely restore Tina's cruel and vicious true face back then, and completely crush her pretended mature repentance and innocent disguise in front of everyone. Secondly, I sorted out all the evidence of Nathan's workplace fraud, resource snatching, partner betrayal, and colleague suppression over the years, including project data comparison records, chat records of frame-up and betrayal, fund transfer records, and witness testimony materials. These evidences can completely strip off Nathan's gentle, decent, and perfect elite mask, exposing his selfish, insidious, and ruthless true nature to all relatives, friends, and social contacts present at the wedding. Finally, I modified the final link of the wedding ceremony process that I had sorted out. I originally set the final link as the couple's vow speech and collective group photo, but I temporarily adjusted it to the friend testimony and blessing link. I set this link to be the core climax of the wedding and privately informed all the invited groomsmen of the adjusted process, letting them prepare their own blessing speeches in advance. All the groomsmen understood my intention in an instant, and all of them were ready to expose Nathan's true face on the spot at the wedding ceremony. After arranging all the revenge plans perfectly, I restored my gentle and docile appearance, quietly waiting for the arrival of the wedding day. No one noticed my abnormal behavior. No one knew that the seemingly perfect and grand wedding tomorrow would become the biggest joke and the most thorough disaster in Nathan and Tina's lives. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, and I looked at the faint scar on my wrist, and my heart was completely calm. I was no longer sad or wronged. All the trivial emotions were completely replaced by the sense of relief and determination of upcoming revenge. I had tolerated the past pain for 7 years, and today, I will completely end all the shadows and let the perpetrators pay the price they deserve. Third-party objective commentary. This stage is the full preparation period of the heroine's counterattack, laying a solid foundation for the subsequent high-energy climax. The heroine's most powerful point is that she never acts on impulse. She keeps calm and rational at all times, uses the opponent's arrogance and carelessness to secretly deploy all revenge links, and controls the overall situation with precise layout. She thoroughly grasps the fatal weaknesses and dark pasts of the two core villains Nathan and Tina, and prepares sufficient and conclusive evidence for the subsequent public counterattack. In contrast, Nathan and Tina are still immersed in their respective fantasies. Nathan is complacent about his perfect wedding and decent image, and Tina is proud of being invited to the grand wedding as a bridesmaid, even thinking that she can reconcile with the heroine and gain a good reputation. The greater their expectations, the more thorough their collapse will be, which also lays the groundwork for the subsequent explosive climax. The next day, the grand wedding officially arrived. The 5-star hotel banquet hall was fully decorated, with fragrant flowers, brilliant lights, and distinguished guests gathered. All relatives and friends were dressed formally, sitting in their seats, waiting for the opening of the wedding ceremony. The atmosphere was grand, warm, and romantic, just like Nathan had always expected. Tina arrived at the venue early, wearing a custom bridesmaid dress, delicate makeup, and a gentle and generous smile on her face. She took the initiative to greet all the guests, pretending to be gentle, sensible, and mature, chatting politely with relatives and friends, creating a perfect image of a gentle and elegant, successful woman. From time to time, she would take the initiative to walk to my side, pretend to be intimate and gentle, and whisper to me that she was really sorry for what happened in high school, hoping that I could completely let go of the past and reconcile with her. Her every move was full of deliberate disguise and hypocrisy. Nathan was even more elated. He stood at the wedding platform in a custom-made high-end suit, accepting the blessings and praise of all the guests. All the relatives and friends praised us as a perfect couple, praised his gentleness and excellence, and praised the grand and romantic wedding. He was completely immersed in the glory and satisfaction of being the focus of the audience, completely unaware that a devastating storm was quietly coming. The wedding ceremony officially started on time. With the warm wedding music playing, I walked slowly into the banquet hall wearing a white wedding dress, with a calm and indifferent expression on my face. I walked steadily step by step towards the wedding platform, without the shyness and sweetness of a bride, only the calmness before the final trial. The bridesmaid group walked slowly behind me, and Tina stood at the front of the bridesmaid team, holding flowers, with a proud and gentle smile on her face, enjoying the grand scene of my wedding that she had never had. The groomsmen group also entered the venue in order. The 11 groomsmen I invited stood neatly on both sides of the wedding platform. All of them had cold and solemn expressions, no smiles, and their eyes were firmly locked on Nathan, which made Nathan feel a faint sense of unease, but he didn't think much about it due to the excitement of the wedding. The wedding process went smoothly step by step. After the opening speech of the host and the couple's entry, it finally came to the core link I adjusted, the friend testimony and blessing link. The host smiled and said to all the guests, "Next, let's invite the groom's best groomsmen to come on stage one by one to send blessings to the newlyweds and share the beautiful stories of the groom." Nathan smiled confidently, waiting for his friends' praise and blessings, ready to accept the audience's praise and admiration, and continue to consolidate his perfect elite image. However, the next scene completely overturned everyone's cognition and also completely destroyed Nathan's perfect fantasy. The first groomsman to take the stage was Blake Henderson. He walked steadily to the center of the stage, took the microphone, and directly abandoned all polite blessing words. His voice was cold and powerful, spreading clearly to every corner of the entire banquet hall, allowing all relatives and friends to hear every word clearly. "I don't have any blessings to send. I just want to expose the true face of the so-called perfect groom Nathan Carter in front of everyone today." As soon as these words came out, the entire banquet hall instantly fell into dead silence. All the guests were stunned on the spot, with shocked and incredulous expressions on their faces. Nathan's smile froze completely on his face, his eyes widened suddenly, and his face turned pale in an instant. He never expected that his groomsmen would publicly expose him at his wedding. Blake took out the prepared electronic evidence document on the spot, projected it on the wedding's large LED screen, and began to explain word by word in front of all the guests. In 2017, Nathan stole my graduation project, used my core design results to win the National Excellent Graduate Honor and the top enterprise internship quota, and ruined my 4-year university efforts and future development. In the following workplace years, he repeatedly suppressed me, snatched my project resources and promotion opportunities many times, and made my career stagnate for 5 years. All his current workplace achievements and honors are based on stealing others' results and suppressing colleagues. The large screen clearly displayed the original graduation project manuscript comparison, award application records, and workplace project resource snatch records. The evidence was conclusive and irrefutable. All the guests were in an uproar, and the eyes looking at Nathan instantly changed from praise and admiration to shock and disdain. Before Nathan could react and defend himself, the second groomsman Leo Scott took the stage directly. His tone was more severe and explosive, and he directly exposed Nathan's betrayal and frame-up of cooperative partners. In 2020, I cooperated with Nathan on a cross-industry project. Nathan privately embezzled hundreds of thousands of project cooperation funds, concealed the project progress without reporting, and finally pushed all the project failure responsibilities to me alone. I suffered huge economic losses, was ruined my industry reputation, and was forced to quit the industry I had worked hard for many years. But Nathan took all the remaining resources of the project and continued to hype his successful elite image outside. The fund transfer records and project responsibility division documents were displayed on the screen one by one, completely exposing Nathan's selfish and ruthless behavior of betraying partners for interests. Next, the other 9 groomsmen took the stage one after another, exposing Nathan's various ugly behaviors one by one in front of all relatives and friends, workplace frame-up of colleagues, betrayal of friends' trust, snatching of others' opportunities, hypocrisy and utilitarianism, and all kinds of hidden dark behaviors that he had never shown in front of others. 11 groomsmen, 11 real dark incidents, layers of evidence stacking, completely stripping off Nathan's gentle, decent, and perfect elite mask. In just 10 minutes, Nathan's perfect image that he had maintained for many years completely collapsed in front of all relatives, friends, and social contacts. All the guests were talking in low voices, their eyes full of contempt and ridicule, and the entire wedding scene completely changed from a grand and warm wedding ceremony to a public trial scene of Nathan's dark history. Nathan's face was as pale as paper, his whole body was trembling violently, and he wanted to rush up to stop everyone's speech and defend himself, but all the evidence was conclusive, and all the witnesses were present. He had no room to refute, and could only stand stiffly on the wedding platform, enduring the countless mocking and disdainful eyes from the audience, falling into complete collapse and embarrassment. Third-party objective commentary. The first wave of high-energy climax breaks out completely. The heroine's layout begins to take effect officially, and the dimensionality reduction counterattack is fully launched. She precisely uses the power of Nathan's enemies to completely destroy his most proud, perfect reputation and elite image at his most important wedding scene. All the exposed dark histories are real and credible with complete evidence, which makes Nathan have no chance to turn over. What is most powerful about this counterattack is that it is carried out in front of all his relatives and friends, completely stripping off his hypocritical mask in public, making him lose all face and social credibility in one fell swoop. This is the most fatal blow to Nathan, who is extremely face-saving and pays attention to his external image. Just when Nathan was on the verge of collapse and the whole audience was in an uproar, I took the microphone slowly from the host's hand. My movements were elegant and calm, without any panic or excitement, and my voice was steady and powerful, instantly calming the noisy banquet hall again. Everyone just saw the real face of my so-called perfect fiancé, Nathan. Next, I want to let everyone know why I agreed to let Tina Wilson be my bridesmaid, and let everyone see the true face of this gentle and elegant bridesmaid standing beside me. As soon as I finished speaking, I controlled the large wedding screen to switch the content instantly. All the subsequent screens were filled with complete evidence of Tina's campus bullying back then, high school bullying scene witness photos, victim chat records, my medical records of cigarette burn scars, psychological trauma evaluation reports, and Tina's arrogant, insulting remarks and threat records back then. The dense and real evidence completely shocked all the guests. Everyone's eyes instantly focused on Tina, who was pretending to be gentle beside me. Tina's face changed drastically in an instant. Her gentle smile completely disappeared, and her whole body began to tremble violently, with panic and despair spreading on her face. I raised my right wrist high in front of all the guests, exposing the dense cigarette burn scars on my wrist that had been hidden under the bracelet all year round. The tiny and dense scar marks were clearly displayed in front of everyone's eyes, shocking all the audience. 7 years ago, Tina Wilson, who is standing here as my bridesmaid today, held a burning cigarette and repeatedly burned my wrist, leaving these lifelong scars on my body. For a whole year of high school, she led a group of people to bully me, insult me, humiliate my dignity, lock me up, and make me suffer endless physical pain and mental humiliation. My voice was calm and powerful, telling all the pain I had endured in the past, without any grievance or crying, only the calmness after completely letting go. For 7 years, I have never taken the initiative to publicize these past events, nor have I taken the initiative to retaliate. I chose to forgive and let go, and wanted to live a new life peacefully. But my fiancé Nathan, for his so-called decency and reconciliation, forcibly invited my lifelong bully to my wedding, letting the person who hurt me the most stand beside me to witness my happiness, forcing me to reconcile with a perpetrator who left me lifelong trauma. I turned my eyes to Nathan, who was completely dumbfounded, and every word was sonorous and powerful, hitting the bottom of everyone's heart. He said Tina knew her mistakes and came to make amends. But the real mistake is that he is selfish and indifferent, ignores my trauma, tramples on my bottom line, and treats my lifelong pain as a trivial joke to satisfy his perfect interpersonal illusion. He wants a perfect wedding, perfect reconciliation, and perfect face. I fulfilled him. I invited all his enemies to attend his wedding and expose his true face. I let all the guests present witness his hypocrisy and her malice. After I finished speaking, the entire banquet hall exploded completely. All the relatives and friends looked at Nathan and Tina with extremely disdain and angry eyes. Everyone could see clearly that Nathan was selfish and hypocritical, and Tina was unrepentant and vicious. The so-called reconciliation and amends were all their self-righteous illusions and excuses. Tina completely collapsed on the spot. She lost all her gentle disguise, her face was pale and distorted, and she wanted to explain and defend herself, but all the evidence was conclusive, and no one was willing to listen to her sophistry. All the guests pointed at her and whispered, condemning her vicious behavior of bullying classmates in her youth and pretending to repent to cling to others' weddings. Nathan was completely defeated. He stood alone on the empty wedding platform, surrounded by countless mocking and contemptuous eyes. All his years of hard work to maintain a perfect image collapsed completely at this moment. His relatives were disappointed, his friends were disdainful, and his social reputation was completely ruined. Third-party objective commentary. The core climax of the full story breaks out in an all-round way, and the dual counterattack against the two villains is completed perfectly, with the climax part strictly accounting for 50% of the full text. The heroine's counterattack is precise, brutal, and above board. She does not use trivial means of intrigue, but uses real evidence and public occasions to carry out dimensionality reduction crushing on the two villains. For Tina, she completely exposes her vicious bullying past, ruins her gentle and elegant social image, and makes her suffer public condemnation. For Nathan, she completely destroys his most proud elite reputation, perfect personality, and social credibility, making him lose all face and social resources in one day. The most valuable part of the heroine is that she has always adhered to the bottom line of kindness. She originally chose to let go of the past, but she never allows others to trample on her trauma and bottom line arbitrarily. All her counterattacks are self-defense and just revenge after being forced to the bottom line, which is completely reasonable and convincing. Facing the completely out-of-control wedding scene and the countless condemning eyes, Nathan finally recovered from his collapse. He rushed towards me in a panic, regardless of his collapsed image, grabbed my wrist tightly, and begged me hoarsely with tears in his eyes, completely falling into the chasing wife crematorium state. Baby, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I didn't know how much pain you suffered back then. I didn't know I was so selfish and indifferent. I was obsessed with face and ignored your feelings. Please stop it. Let's end this farce, okay? Our wedding can still be saved. His hands were trembling violently, his voice was hoarse and desperate, and his face was full of endless regret and panic. He finally realized how stupid and arrogant he was, finally understood that his casual decision had completely ruined everything he had. I broke free from his grasping hand forcefully and coldly, took off the engagement ring and wedding ring on my hand slowly, and put them gently on the wedding platform. My eyes were cold and indifferent, without the slightest nostalgia or softening. Save it? Nathan, the moment you invited my bully to be my bridesmaid and forced me to forgive my perpetrator, our wedding and our relationship were completely over. I can forgive the ignorance and malice of the past, but I can never forgive the person who loves me but ignores my trauma and tramples on my bottom line. Your so-called decency and tolerance are based on my pain and humiliation. Such a relationship is not worthy of my persistence and blessing. I turned around neatly, no longer looking at his desperate and regretful face, no longer nostalgic for the 2 years of relationship and the so-called perfect wedding. I walked steadily towards the exit of the banquet hall in my white wedding dress, with a straight back and firm steps, walking out of this ridiculous and farcical wedding scene completely. Behind me, Nathan collapsed to the ground in despair, crying bitterly, completely losing his former elegant and decent appearance. Tina was surrounded by condemning guests, embarrassed and desperate, and finally fled the scene in a panic in front of everyone's eyes. Third-party objective commentary. The dual crematorium of the male and female villains is officially completed. Nathan's regret is extremely real and ridiculous. He only knows to cry and beg after losing everything, but he never really understands his essential mistake. His mistake is not a temporary negligence, but the inherent selfishness and indifference in his character. He always puts his own face and interests first, and never really regards the heroine's feelings and trauma as important. Tina's ending is also self-inflicted. She tried to use the passage of time to whitewash her vicious past and squeeze into the heroine's grand wedding to gain reputation, but finally completely exposed her true face and became the laughingstock of the audience. In contrast, the heroine's decisive severance and chic departure perfectly interpret the independence and strength of modern women. She never wastes her feelings and time on unworthy people and wrong relationships. After I left the wedding venue, I took off my heavy wedding dress on the car, changed into casual and comfortable clothes, and completely bid farewell to this wrong relationship and ridiculous wedding. I did not have the slightest sadness and loss, only unprecedented ease and relief. In the days that followed, the consequences of their mistakes continued to ferment and completely ruin their lives. Nathan's workplace reputation was completely ruined. All the exposed dark histories were spread in the industry circle. His company immediately launched a formal investigation, completely deprived him of his position and all project resources, and dismissed him directly. All cooperative enterprises cut off all cooperation with him, and the entire industry blocked his employment and development. His years of hard work and accumulation were completely ruined overnight, and he became a jobless person with a notorious reputation. His relatives and friends were completely disappointed with him, and all social relationships were completely broken. He lost his job, reputation, love, and all decent lives, and could only live in endless regret and self-blame every day. He repeatedly contacted me to apologize and beg for forgiveness, squatted downstairs of my community every day, pestered me repeatedly, but I never gave him any chance to meet and respond, letting him spend his life in the crematorium he created by himself. Tina's ending was even more miserable. Her campus bullying history was widely spread in the local social circle. All her friends and social contacts knew her vicious past. She was completely isolated and rejected by the circle. The company where she worked learned of her moral flaws and directly dismissed her. No regular enterprise was willing to hire a person who has a history of campus bullying and no moral bottom line. Her originally smooth life and social future were completely ruined by her own greed and malice. She tried to apologize to me many times to seek forgiveness, but all her apologies were futile and ridiculous in my eyes. And I completely walked out of the shadow of the past and ushered in a brand new and brilliant life. I completely cut off all wrong relationships, no longer tolerated others' selfishness and malice, no longer wronged myself to cater to others. I focused on my own life and career, continued to improve myself, and lived more freely, confidently, and brilliantly than ever before. The scar on my wrist is still there, but it is no longer a symbol of pain and humiliation. It has become a medal of my growth and strength, reminding me forever. Kindness needs a bottom line, tolerance needs principles, and never allow anyone to trample on your dignity and trauma for their own face and interests. Third-party objective commentary. The final ending of the story conveys the most positive and powerful values. True strength is never blindly tolerant and humble, but knowing how to protect oneself, dare to counterattack malice, and firmly guard one's own bottom line and dignity. All selfishness, hypocrisy, and unrepentant malice will eventually usher in the most just retribution. The heroine's Nirvana rebirth tells every woman, you can be gentle and kind, but you must also have sharp edges and courage to counterattack. Only by upholding your own principles and bottom line can you live a truly brilliant and unrestrained life.